What's a country you think 90 of people haven't heard of? Are there really independent countries that are that obscure? We had to learn all countries in school, albeit it was 20 years ago by now. But there's not a country I haven't heard of by name at least, and usually can connect the dots on which continent it's on. There's a lot of countries I know almost nothing about though, like the Caribbean islands or the Pacific Ocean islands. I guess since 90 of the world's population lives in the northern hemisphere, it's a country in the southern hemisphere, like Nauru, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, Tonga, Palau. Honestly, the Holy See, which most simply know as the Vatican, though the jurisdiction technically expands beyond the city. It is recognized as sovereign under international law. I'd say many people don't actually know of it. A little more explanation. I'm not actually talking about the Vatican. The Holy See has jurisdiction over the Vatican and refers basically to the Pope's jurisdiction. It's recognized under international law as sovereign, although its status as a state is a bit murky. Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island in the world. The nearest land is South Africa, 2,700 kilometers away. There is no airport, and so the only way to get there is bumping into a fishing vessel in Cape Town that happens to be going there. There is no regular ferry, and even then the voyage is 3 weeks. It turns out there are 4 regular sailings to the island every year, and the voyage can take under 2 weeks. Seychelles cool flag. Burundi Rwandan genocide. Tonga volcano eruption few years back. Equatorial Guinea capital is on a far island. Belize blue hole. Grenada how you'd know this. Tourism IDK. Moldova, that YouTube vlog. San Marino F1 circuit. What else? The only reason someone knows these are either geo nerds, or you've seen a video about it. Anyway, it's an interesting one because it brings up questions about what it means for something to be a country. So some people might not even think it counts. I think it does by most metrics, and the UN recognizes it as independent. Unless you're from New Zealand, I doubt even one of people know about it. Transnistria, officially known as the Pridnestrovian Moldovan Republic (PMR), is a breakaway state internationally recognized as part of Moldova. Basically a place that calls itself a country, but most countries consider it part of a different country. Grenadines sounds like urban indie rock band, and given how few people have probably even heard of it, I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought that's what it was the first time I heard of it. The Principality of Sealand text to 20 Principality 20 of 20 Sealand 22 FCB 88. The 20 Coast 20 of 20 Suffolk to C2 England. Might not count, but that's a wild read. Choued, but Isle of Man isn't part of the UK, although it's a crown dependency and has its own culture and language. I love micronations like Faroe Islands, Niue, Tuvalu, and Kiribati. I'd say most people haven't heard of most of the Pacific Islands and most of the Caribbean islands. Countries like Sao Tome and Principe and East Timor also. Snow Tome and Principe is the least guessed country on the Sporkle Name the country's quiz, so I usually go with that one when I'm trying to stump someone. Sao Tome et Principe. Thank you, Richard Osman. Capital is Sao Tome for extra facto. Closest country to 0 degrees longitude and latitude. Yay facts. Tuvalu, island of 10,000 people, will likely be underwater in the coming years. Have linked up with Meta to upload their culture to the metaverse. Central African Republic. Knew someone from there and they constantly had issues at passport control as no one believed it was a real country. Bro, I couldn't even make an 8th of the 50 started in the US, so you could name just about anywhere and I would be learning something. Slovenia, because people might think you said Slovakia wrong. And the two aren't doing anyone any favors with such similar flags. East Timor. There's also the Pitcairn Islands consisting of Pitcairn, Henderson, Juicy and Nino. Only Pitcairn is inhabited though. According to Jetpunk's German name all countries quiz, it's the Solomon Islands, Nauru, Grenada, Vanuatu, and Snow Tome and Principe. I once met someone who thought Madagascar was a made-up place for a movie script. No points for guessing where this person is from. Depends what part of the world you are from. I would say Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, and Tuvalu are the most unknown worldwide. Cape Verde, and Tristan da Cunha, albeit Tristan da Cunha is one part of a British protectorate. It's super isolated and obscure. Malawi, I would say I'm pretty good at geography, and I discovered this country just playing on Google Maps like a year ago. Liechtenstein, I'm pretty sure most of China and India are unaware it exists, and that gets it close to 90 right there. Puntland, well, it's really more of an autonomous state than I bet not a lot of people know about it. Up until recently, Guyana. Growing up, people ask me what I'm and they think it's in Africa. Or go New Guinea. My favorite was not really a country and actually doesn't exist anymore, Bophuthatswana. But it is fun to say. I was going to say Benin, which I would have expected most people to think of as some pharmaceutical company. Unless they've been on a cruise, I think Curacao. Also, I don't think many people know Niger is not Nigeria. Few people know Montenegro is a real place. Strangely few realize it's not in Africa too. I wonder why. This is like the worst question to ask Americans, as so many forget the USA isn't 90% of the population. Snow Tome and Principe feels like the very most forgotten one. Maybe also the Marshall Islands, Samoa, Vanuatu, Tuvalu, etc., etc., etc. Any Pacific Ocean island is probably a 95% chance of being a maker. Equatorial Guinea bonus points if you know the fun fact about where its capital city is located. Sealand, well, they claim it's a country. Most countries just see it as a dead space on the map. Palau. But all of these are just the obscure countries everybody had to learn for Sporkle quizzes. Burkina Faso. But since it sounds like something from Star Wars, it could be a popular pick. All the Saints ones, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for sure has to be one of the many micronations or islands around the world. I guarantee most non-Europeans could not point out North Macedonia on a map. Mauritania, every time I see it on a map, I'm like, wait, that exists? I'm learning a lot of new countries. This is unexpectedly educational. Comoros. There's basically no reason at all to talk about this country. My go-to when it comes to obscure countries is Snow Tome and Principe. According to many Americans I've met, apparently Africa is a country. The Comoros is at least the African country I always seem to forget. Micronesia I only heard about because of an old Simpson episode. Svenborgia. Or that other one Jerry Seinfeld won't tell me about. New Zealand. Because it isn't real. And if it's real, it moves. My country, Moldova. I notice that often when I talk to people. Federated States of Micronesia. Contains the island of Yap. Me reading this post, am I good at geography by accident? You may know it as Myanmar, but it'll always be Burma to me. Nauru. I love pulling this one out. No one ever has a clue. Everything between the Middle East and Russia. The stands. Lao People's Democratic Republic, commonly known as Laos. The Central African Republic, aka French South Sudan. Montserrat. Fun fact. Only capital to be a ghost town. Do people know that Tajikistan looks like a rabbit? It depends on the nationality of the people you ask. Antigua and Barbuda is my go-to guess on Pointless.